We're live.
Okay, this is a regular scheduled meeting of the Finance Committee. It is September 9th at 5:45, and I'm Councilor Tremble, Committee Chair. We also have Councilor Dean, Councilor Fournier, Councilor Leonard, Councilor Yakabaga, who are on the committee. Other councilors are present, Councilor Paz, Councilor Pelletier, and Councilor Schaefer. And we've got a couple of requests to waive the bid process, Dan.
Yes, and Councilor Fish.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were on the, I thought I read you was on the committee. I'm sorry. And Council Fish was not on the committee. All right, thanks.
So we're having a special finance committee meeting tonight for it's all airport. The first item is to waive the bid process for a common use carrier system for both software and hardware. The common use system, this is part of the contracts that have been negotiated with the 5 air carriers. That's going to be on consent tonight for the full council meeting. This system, once installed, will allow essentially any airline to use any check-in counter or gate. It's a true common use system. The airport, in order to, is sort of a trying to get the timing right for Breeze coming in, to try to get something set up as quickly as possible to accommodate Breeze, but will also accommodate the rest of the airlines. And the airport reached out to several vendors that have this type of system. And they settled on AeroCloud. They reached out to 2 airports that use AeroCloud. They're very happy with their service. AeroCloud has given us a price for a 5-year contract that would be $159,443 for the 5 years. The year 1 cost is $69,683, and that includes some one-time hardware costs that wouldn't be part of the annual licensing fee. The license fee is about $22,000 a year for the subsequent years. That would include the hardware that was needed for 8 stations, which is essentially going to be 4 counters, 3 gates, and a mobile unit that will be flexible to be able to move around. So the airport is looking for permission to go ahead and waive the bid process and enter into a 5-year contract with AeroCloud for the common use system at the airport.
Any questions on this request or a motion to approve it?
Actually, I have a question.
Council Pelletier.
The question is, so currently all of the domestic carriers are using independent reservation and check-in systems, is that right?
Yes,
And those are specific to the gates they're in?
yes, each currently, and I'm gonna look to Jose to make sure that I'm correct on this. Currently, certain airlines have to use certain gates because it's already set up for their system. This would allow us to use any gate for any airline as needs came due.
So earlier this year, when there was that massive outage of Delta and American, a few other carriers, were they running AeroCloud?
No, so. So 2 different questions. The question regarding the software, it was, the issue with the software was industry-wide, and it wasn't specific to AeroCloud. If anything, actually, AeroCloud was one of the common use providers that stayed functioning across the industry. And so that impacted depending on the back-end systems that each airline had. So there were airlines like Southwest that had absolutely no disruptions whatsoever. So it wasn't on the common use provider.
Okay,
And then the second question was, or the first question was regarding the current setup, correct?
Yes,
Yeah, so what we have in place right now is a system in which each airline has their own computer systems. And so you end up next time you fly through the airport, the situation in gate 6 where we have 3 different counters, one because one counter that has Delta equipment,
Right.
one of them with Allegiant, one of them with United. And so it just takes a significant amount of space. This streamlines it into a single position that would be able to feed all of the airlines that operate out of there. So
thank you.
Any other questions? Or Council Dean?
I'm just wondering, do you find any issues with baggage when they're sharing things like this?
no, So what happened, the way systems like the common view system feeds, it basically creates a virtual feed so that any airline can log into the computer and it operates as if it was their own system. So then basically it goes from the computer that they're sitting in front, opens up the system for that specific airline. So it doesn't really impact anything else. If anything, it enables any airline to go into the ticket counter and then operate a flight. And once they're done, you can have a different airline come in and log into the same computer. And it's a completely separate system, but it's basically utilizing optimizing the space and the hardware because it's only one set of computers rather than 3 different computers as it is right now.
Make a motion.
Moved in the second,
Second,
no objection, this has approval, thank you.
Yep.
Okay,
Our next item is also to waive the bid process for the airport. This is in relation to the new parking lot. We've been talking about this for a while. There is a new parking lot being constructed on Godfrey Boulevard. The council's approved the funding for that. And the construction is underway. Sort of a secondary piece of that construction is having the cabling needed to run security cameras and any hardware communications and that type of stuff to that project. So that was outside of the actual construction of the parking lot itself. In order to expedite and meet the November deadline, we wanted to go with a company that we have used, the city's used on numerous occasions. They're available. They'll be able to get the work done in time of our timeline so that the parking lot is operational in November, and that is Northeast Cable. The IT department reached out to Northeast Cable for a quote of what it would cost to run the cabling essentially from the domestic terminal. It will go underground along the edge of the Godfrey Boulevard and then over and connect into the new lot. They gave a quote of $54,256,000. So we're looking for permission to contract directly with Northeast Cable, get that on their schedule, and they'd be able to meet the timeline to get the parking lot ready to go. That price is reasonable based on the amount of cabling that needs to get down in the fiber optics that need to get run.
and just to clarify, that's the amount on the agenda, it's listed as 56,000, it's actually 54,000.
That is my typo, yes.
Okay. So, is there any questions on this item? Is there a motion on this item?
Make a motion.
A
Second.
Without any objection, it has approval. Thank you,
All
Cheryl.
right, the next 2 items are related to the same pool of money. It's gonna be done a little bit differently. Typically, when we have grant money that we have applied for, we would do a resolve to accept and appropriate. But due to some timing with when we were notified as to when this funding was available for the runway, we're not gonna be able to go to 2 full council meetings for first reading and then unfinished business in order to meet the deadline to accept the money. So our first item tonight is an order to authorize the city manager to accept $15,285,000 from the Federal Aviation Administration and just under 1.1 million from the Maine Department of Transportation for the runway rehabilitation. And with this order, this will be on new business tonight for your approval. Once that gets approval, the city manager and the city's legal department can sign and accept the 15 million and the 1.83. And then there's also going to be an order tonight, which is our next item, which is a resolve to appropriate the money, which will be for first reading, and then we'll come back for unfinished business at the next meeting. Doing it this way allows us to officially accept the money. If we don't accept it within their deadline, we lose the money. So we kind of like to get $15 million.
Questions on this order? The motion on this?
I make a motion.
Excellent. Move the second without any objection, this has approval.
Thank you. And so our next item is the resolve, which will authorize us to appropriate. This will be under first reading tonight. And then come back for unfinished business at the next council meeting and then we can start drawing down and using that funding.
Make a motion.
Second.
Moved and second, without objection, as approval.
Thank you.
That's
Just I
it.
wanted a quick clarification for tonight's council meeting, because under new, under the first readings, there's gonna be actually two airport grants related to the airport. One is under the Airport Improvement Grant Program, and this is under the Airport Improvement Program, just the AIP. One's an AIG and one's an AIP. So there's gonna be two, but they're unrelated. All that money is gonna go into the runway rehabilitation.
One of them is the AIP fund, the other one is the the bill.
The build grant, the
Grant.
bipartisan infrastructure.
And that's the discretionary that they wait until the very end, once they've allocated all of the entitlements to see what's left to be able to package it. So that's why the time crunch.
For anybody watching or tonight, I wanted them to understand there's like an $8 million one and then this $15 million one, but there are two separate programs of federal money that we were able to dip into for the runway.
First.
Okay, thank you.
That is all I have.
The Finance Committee is